Maria had been working at the small-town shooting range for nearly 3 years. She wasn't flashy or loud, just a quiet, polite woman who cleaned the booths, refilled ammo trays, and made sure customers followed safety rules. Her uniform, a faded navy polo with the range's logo and khaki cargo pants, wasn't exactly glamorous, but it was hers. That afternoon, a group of cocky new members walked in. They strutted past her like they owned the place, tossing glances at her badge with mocking smirks. One of them, a tall man with expensive sunglasses perched on his head, leaned over the counter. "You even know how to shoot in that getup," he sneered. "Looks like you're just here to sweep floors." Maria gave a small, patient smile. "I know enough to keep people safe." But the group wasn't interested in safety. They wanted a show. "Tell you what," the tall man said, loud enough for others to hear. "We'll let you take a turn on the line. If you lose, you strip off that little uniform and admit you're just a pretend shooter." The room went quiet. Several people turned to watch. Maria's cheeks burned, but not from embarrassment, more from the challenge in their eyes. She agreed with a calm nod. Minutes later, she was at the firing lane. She took her turn, placing each bullet in the target's center with almost mechanical precision. The group laughed, claiming she got lucky. The tall man loaded his pistol, aimed, and, while good, was just slightly off. Still, they twisted the bet's terms, jeering that she had to strip anyway because a real shooter would have been faster, not just accurate. With murmurs and laughter swirling, Maria removed her range polo and cargo pants, revealing a simple black t-shirt and athletic leggings underneath. She didn't look humiliated, just oddly calm. "You wanted me out of uniform," she said, stepping forward with a mysterious glint in her eyes. "All right, let's really test this." The men smirked, thinking they'd embarrassed her. But Maria walked to the farthest lane, where a high-level challenge was set up, moving targets on a time sequence. Only advanced shooters used it, and most failed. "Since I'm not in uniform now," she said, "we can forget the customer-employee thing. Just shooter versus shooter. One run. Winner takes the bragging rights." They laughed but agreed. The tall man went first, his shots quick but sloppy, only hitting half the moving targets before time ran out. He shrugged it off, blaming cheap equipment. Maria stepped up without a word. The buzzer sounded. She moved with startling speed, her stance low, arms steady, muzzle snapping from target to target with surgical precision. Every plate fell, every silhouette hit dead center. When the final buzzer sounded, the crowd erupted in cheers and shouts. Her total time, nearly half of his. The tall man's face reddened as his friends tried to laugh it off. But Maria wasn't done. She walked to the prize board and pointed at the laminated photo of the range's monthly champion, her own face, taken just 2 months ago. "I'm not a pretend shooter," she said quietly, handing him back the empty magazine. "I train the local police on weekends. That uniform, you mocked us for cleaning up after people who think they're better than everyone else." The men had nothing left to say. Some of the regulars patted her shoulder as she calmly pulled her range polo and pants back on, the cheers still echoing. By the time they left, the group wasn't strutting anymore. And from that day forward, nobody at the shooting range mistook Maria for just an employee again, because they all knew she could outshoot anyone who dared to underestimate her. Part 2. The men were still smirking as if they had scored some kind of victory. Maria, however, walked with an unhurried calm toward the far end of the range. She passed rows of shooters, the scent of gunpowder heavy in the air, brass shells glinting under the fluorescent lights as they clinked to the concrete floor. A few customers had stopped shooting entirely, watching her with curious expressions. At the last lane stood the advanced challenge rig, motorized tracks carrying paper silhouettes that darted and weaved unpredictably. The targets didn't just slide left or right, they would suddenly pop forward, spin, and retreat, simulating live movement. Most casual shooters avoided it entirely. Maria reached for a headset from the wall and adjusted it over her hair, her expression unreadable. "Since I'm not in uniform now," she said evenly, "this is shooter versus shooter. No employee rules, no safety net for egos. One run each. Winner takes the bragging rights." Her tone wasn't cocky, it was level, confident, and it made some of the regulars smile knowingly. The tall man, Tom, as his friends called him, snorted. "All right, but don't cry when you lose, sweetheart. This isn't just about standing still and poking holes in paper." Maria's eyebrow arched. "I'm counting on that." The range supervisor, an older man named Jeff, walked over, clearly sensing the tension. "This setup's for advanced members only," he warned Tom. "You sure you want to do this? You mess up, you could embarrass yourself in front of, well, everyone." Tom puffed out his chest. "You'll be watching her embarrass herself." He gestured to his buddies, who grinned like a pack of hyenas. Jeff shrugged and keyed the control system. "You're first then. Standard run. 12 moving targets, 30 seconds max. Full scoring, center hits are worth more." Tom rolled his neck, stepped into position, and picked up a 9mm from his kit. He loaded his mag, locked in, and the buzzer blared. The targets started moving, jerking from one side to another, some partially obscured by metal obstacles. Tom fired fast, too fast. His shots punched paper, but several missed completely. The clang of moving tracks and his rushed trigger pulls filled the air. He hit 7 targets before the timer buzzed. "Score: 52, Jeff announced, looking at the digital readout. Not terrible, but far from exceptional. Tom stepped back, grinning at Maria like it was still in the bag. "Your turn. Try not to freeze when they start moving." Maria didn't say a word. She stepped forward, selecting a pistol from the rental rack, a plain, matte black SIG P320. She loaded the mag with practiced ease, each round clicking in like part of a well-worn ritual. Her stance shifted, feet shoulder-width apart, knees bent slightly. One hand wrapped the grip firmly, the other locking over it. Her breathing slowed until it was almost imperceptible. The buzzer blared. In an instant, Maria became a machine. The pistol barked, muzzle flash briefly lighting her face. She didn't just track the targets, she anticipated their movement, shifting before they even finished their arc. Her shots were crisp, decisive, the recoil absorbed effortlessly by her posture. A clang, target down. Another. Then 2 in rapid succession. The crowd's chatter faded into silence except for the rhythmic cadence of her shots. Each one landed dead center, tearing through the bullseye zone of the silhouettes. By the time the last target popped up, her sights were already aligned. The final shot cracked through the air just as the buzzer went off. Jeff glanced at the monitor, then did a double take. Perfect run. Score: 120. Time: 17.4 seconds. The onlookers erupted. Cheers, whistles, and the heavy pounding of hands against the lane partitions filled the range. Even a few strangers shouted her name. Maria calmly ejected her magazine, cleared the chamber, and set the pistol back on the counter. She removed her headset, letting the noise of the celebration wash over her. Tom's smirk was gone, replaced by a pale, tight-lipped expression. His friends shifted awkwardly, avoiding her eyes. She turned toward them, speaking in the same quiet tone she'd used earlier. "Not bad for someone you thought was just here to sweep floors." A few chuckles rippled through the crowd. Someone muttered, "That was beautiful." Maria walked to the prize wall on the far side of the range. She pointed at the laminated photo of the monthly champion, her face, holding a trophy, dated just 2 months ago. Below it was another photo from 6 months back. And another from the year before. "I train the local police on weekends," she said, her voice carrying enough to be heard without shouting. "That uniform, you mocked us for cleaning up after people who think they're the best in the room just because they talk the loudest." Jeff, standing nearby, grinned. "And she's being modest. She's competed at state level twice. Beat every SWAT guy in the county in a timed drill last year." Tom muttered something about getting lucky, but the excuse was thin, and his own friends weren't buying it. One of them even laughed nervously, smacking his shoulder. "Guess you're buying drinks tonight, champ." Maria picked up her range polo and cargo pants from the bench and slipped them back on with unhurried movements. The same people who'd been watching earlier now gave her nods of respect, some even stepping forward to shake her hand. One of the regulars, a middle-aged woman with salt and pepper hair, leaned in. "That was a thing of beauty, honey. You didn't just beat him, you dismantled him." Maria smiled faintly. It wasn't about beating him. It was about reminding him the range is a place for skill, not ego. As Tom and his friends left, they no longer strutted. Tom kept his eyes fixed on the floor, one hand stuffed deep in his pocket. His friends didn't talk much either. When the door finally closed behind them, Jeff chuckled and turned to Maria. "You know, I could put that run on the range's website. Might make a few folks think twice before running their mouths." Maria shook her head. "Let them underestimate me. It makes moments like this a lot more satisfying." The rest of the afternoon, the range buzzed with the story. Word spread fast. By the end of the day, even shooters who hadn't been there were talking about the quiet woman who smoked a cocky newcomer on the advanced rig in under 20 seconds. As Maria cleaned up at closing time, she caught sight of her reflection in the glass wall. She didn't look like a champion. She looked like herself, simple, steady, comfortable in her own skin. And that was exactly how she liked it. Because the truth was, she didn't come to the range to prove herself to strangers. She came because she loved the craft, the discipline, the focus, the feel of getting it exactly right. But if someone tried to humiliate her, well, she could always remind them that a simple woman with a quiet voice could still be the most dangerous person in the room. And as the last light flickered out and the smell of gunpowder faded into the cool night air, Maria locked up the range, her small smile hidden in the dark, knowing full well that Tom and his friends would never forget the day they tried to make her strip, only to have her strip them of their pride instead. If you want, I can also give you a tense, slow-motion version of the shooting sequence so it feels like an action movie scene. That would push the drama even further. Would you like me to do that next?